Thanks for checking out this Blu-ray review video. So I'm going to go in depth on a movie that I was sent from Celluloid Dreams. They'd actually sent me a while back their very first release, which was the 4K of The Case of the Bloody Iris. They specialize in giallo, at least at the moment they do. And this is their third release because they also had done Short Night of Glass Dolls. I did not receive that one. I will be buying it at some point because I do love that giallo, and I'm assuming it looks amazing in 4K, just like The Case of the Bloody Iris did. But this is an interesting release that they sent me, and it is a Hyena in the Safe. Now, this is their first release that is not a 4K. Take note of that. This is just a Blu-ray. Oh, I should do it like that because I have it flipped, but because this is the Italian version of the slip. I mean, same artwork, but yeah. But anyway, so this one's just Blu-ray. I assume it's just because of whatever elements they had to work with, or they decided it was going to be way too costly to do a 4K restoration for a film that maybe might have a harder time selling because people don't know this movie. This is the first wide release in the United States of this film. I'd never even heard about this before, and I just saw on social media that they were releasing it, and I'm like, what is that movie? Thankfully, I then ended up getting an email not long after that saying, we are sending you this for review. So thank you very much, Celluloid Dream folks, for sending this to me to review. I'm going to tell you right now, I do recommend this one. If you are into old crime films, if you are into old Italian cinema, or specifically if you are into giallo in general, this is for you, in my opinion, especially because I'm sure you haven't seen it before, or maybe you did some other way, but most likely you have not seen it. It is 100% worth seeing. I will be honest, initially I was like, this one doesn't look like super exciting to me. Although my interest was piqued because I was like, it's a giallo I have not seen before. I've seen a lot of giallos and I just want to keep ticking those off, seeing as much as I can. But they send it when you purchase it, which, by the way, it is $29.99 at the moment on sale. I will link their website in the description of this video. They will send you also these lobby cards. So looking at these lobby cards, I was basically like, I don't know. A lot of these stills look pretty boring to me. There's nothing super outstanding standing out in it. I like the stills a lot more now after having seen the movie, but it got me like not hyped for it seeing this first before I watched the movie. And I will say though, it is way more interesting than these would indicate. Did I get there? Oh, love this, the safe. Yeah, that was the start. So there you go. You will get this plus the actual Blu-ray with the slipcover for $29.99 at the moment. Go make that purchase for sure, if you're into what I just talked about. So anyway, I'm going to review the movie itself, and then I'm going to talk about the special features and everything. But first of all, I have to say, they did a really... Oh, I should hold it like this because of the English. They did a really nice job with restoring it, which I assumed would be the case because with The Case of the Bloody Iris, it looked unbelievable. And the only copy that was out prior to that one was the DVD release by Synapse that did not look good. So they do a lot of work, and they take a lot of care into restoring these. And this one, it's the same situation. You pop it in, it looks great. I was wondering, actually, maybe I can look at it somewhere. I was wondering, is this like a 4K restoration? Because it looked really good, even though it is Blu-ray. Like, it looked more than Blu-ray to me, honestly. Like, I was like, I know it's not a 4K case, but I was like, is this like almost there? But anyway, yeah, so A Hyena in the Safe. Let me talk about the film itself. The premise isn't anything wild. It's something that a lot of people are familiar with. The story itself is very similar to And Then There Were None, the Agatha Christie story, which actually that ends up getting talked about as well in the special features, and with the commentary track done by Guido Henkel, who is with the company and actually wears many hats with the company, so working hard. But it's it's a very simplistic story. It kind of sets it up like, okay, here are all these characters. They were involved in this diamond heist, and they're coming together well after it's happened, after things have kind of settled down. They each have a key that all need to go into the safe at the same time to get those diamonds out, and then they will split them up. But as they come together, there's a lot of paranoia, there's a lot of tension, and then people start dying because naturally it's a giallo film. So people have to be dying in the film, and there is a bit of a mystery as to who's killing, what's going on. Also a very giallo thing. So the story is very basic. Where it ends up going, pretty good, pretty solid twists that occur within the film. So I'm very happy with that. But what it's really about is how it's shot. I was immediately impressed with how this film is shot, and the fact that this is the first wide release of this film and it looks the way it does is kind of shocking to me. I would have thought this would have somehow made it out before this, but thank goodness Celluloid Dreams is able to grab this one and put it out there, because the camera movement, the camera work itself is unbelievable in my opinion. I'm a big fan of Mario Bava films, literally my favorite director of all time. And one of the great things about how he shoots, or how he had shot, is lots of smooth, interesting camera movements, interesting framing of shots, a lot of times using architecture within buildings and outside of buildings to frame shots in interesting ways, interesting camera angles, really cool, interesting lighting. All that stuff is going on here too, and it's not a Bava film. So very impressive. And actually the guy who directed it ended up making only 10 or maybe less than 10 films in his entire career. So he wasn't super prolific, which is shocking seeing how great this was. Story okay, but like I said, visually phenomenal. But yeah, it's super visually pleasing. One of the other things is the costuming is really great. One small detail that I just don't notice in films, but I did in this one because it's very in your face and interesting, is the eye makeup of the female characters in this. Very interesting. Very, very interesting. And it's one of those things where, because there's so much visually interesting stuff in the film, even the moments that are kind of slow, like dialogue-wise or story-wise, and it is kind of a slow-paced film, you're still engaged and interested because there's so many interesting things to look at. And going to that aesthetic, the shooting location was phenomenal. It was shot in one location, inside and outside of it. It was this villa that actually wasn't in operation at the time. No one was using it. But phenomenal looking. Very interesting architecture. Really cool grounds to it because there were some cool fountains. There was a fountain they actually turned into a swimming pool in it. There was, I could keep my cat away from getting on the, no, and there she goes. Josie, come on, buddy. You got to get down. Sorry, this happens. And we're good. We're back on track. But yeah, the topiary aspects to it, like how they've trimmed the hedges and everything. The grass was very well maintained. It's just outside gorgeous, inside very interesting architecture. Some things I've never seen before, like an observatory as part of the building, which is pretty amazing. Yeah, just super interesting visual stuff all over this film, and that is the main reason I love it. And then, like I said, the story's solid. There's no problem. Good twist to it. The acting is really good, too. And one of the things is, I'll roll now into the commentary. The commentary is great, and it adds so much to the experience of the film. I watched it first without the commentary, and then after that, since I already knew the story and everything, I wanted all this extra context. I watched it with the commentary, and it adds a lot of different aspects of things. It talks about, the filmmaker and his backstory and kind of some of his other works, how he handled things, the actors, their relationships with each other, how they were on set, any other interesting anecdotes about them, talking about the shooting location itself, the camera work, the cinematographer, the history of the area, the history of the shooting location, what was going on with film at that time in Italy and within that community. So many aspects of things. And I wasn't surprised that it was like that because, like I had said, they had sent me the Case of the Bloody Iris 4K for review. And the commentary was amazing with that one that Guido also did. So I wasn't surprised that it was an excellent commentary, but if that's something you actually care about, it's extremely well done. It gives so much more context to it. It also breaks things down about the film that you may not have considered which did plenty of that for me, honestly. So definitely worth it. Definitely worth watching the movie and then watching it with commentary. Not necessarily back to back like I did, but however your time ends up working out. So let me talk also about the other extras with this. So, well, first of all, as it says under special features, original Italian language. There's no dubbing for this because obviously it wasn't released in the United States, really. So there's no dubs. There are no dubs out there, so it's all subtitled. The commentary track I already talked about. 7 guests for a massacre. It's an interview featurette with Cesare Cannavaro, who was the director, Sandro Pizzichero, and Nini Della. Misericordia, I am destroying these. Adriana Morlacchi and Diego Passati. That's good. It's like 54-ish minutes of just interviews with these people, kind of giving their accounts about what happened with the film and all sorts of interesting information that some of it also gets covered with some of the other extras and some of it gets covered in the commentary. But there's a bunch of other interesting stuff. You always want to hear from the people who are involved, and I think it's a good special feature for that reason. Then they have Schrodinger's Diamonds, the duplicitous mystery of Hyena in the safe. It's a video essay by Andy Marshall Roberts. That's awesome. Love video essays. I especially love video essays that are paired up with interviews, with a feature that's interviews with the people involved, because it's a totally different aspect of learning things about the film, because the video essay kind of like breaks things down about it, does some similar things to what the commentary track does, but covers other things a lot of the time. There's a little bit of overlap, but covers a lot of its own stuff. Just very interesting, very engaging. That is in English. Obviously, the interviews are in Italian, so they're subtitled. So just letting people know that. And then they have the Mysteries of Villa Toplitz, which is location for where the movie was shot. That is just, I think it's like a little over 7 minutes of them just at the location, at the shooting location. Unfortunately, they weren't able to go inside. I wish they had been able to do that, but it is what it is. So you see a lot of the outside. So it's kind of cool to like see, this is where this one scene was. This is where this one scene was. And just like also seeing how it's looking like it hasn't been in use now. Like it is kept up, but as you get closer to the main building, it's less kept. But it's just really cool to see that stuff. I know there are a lot of people who are into that. And then the last special feature on here is just an Italian trailer for the film, which is a pretty good trailer, honestly. And I found it to be very interesting so that you could see what the film would have looked like before it was restored by these folks, because the quality of the film is not nearly what the movie is for the trailer. Like the trailer's definitely not looking as great. And so it's a good kind of comparison piece. Oh yeah, and then there's some stills, but it had all of these stills, but then also the sorry for all the noise my cat's making. This, cover art, which I don't think I really focused on. I really love this cover art. Super, super cool. But then the final image in that image gallery is a like alternate poster art that I think would have been really cool to put in here on like, because oddly enough, like the inverse of it is the same as the front. It's literally the same, which doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. That alternate poster art would have been great to put in there so people can kind of flip it if they want, or it would have been even better on the slipcover, because like this is it's an okay slipcover, but I think that the alternate poster art in the image gallery is a lot more interesting and better looking than this, to be honest. Not trying to throw any shade on whoever did it, but I'm just being honest. Yeah, so let me do it this way. Okay, never mind. Why? Anyway, really good. So wrapping up, this is a phenomenal release. Like I said, especially for people who want to watch a lot of giallo or just Italian film in general, totally worth it. Like I said, $29.99 right now. And as I said before, they did send this to me, so I am very thankful for that. But I also am very honest about what I'm seeing in a product. And right now, I think they're doing a really good job of choosing what they're putting out, since they've only put out 3 titles. The first one obviously is one that Giallo fans would scramble for. The second one was another one that Giallo fans would scramble for. Now they're going a little bit off course for sure thing sales with one that hasn't been released before, but it is a good one. So I think they're doing a good job of like taking it slow, making good choices to build their brand. So cannot wait to see what they put out next. Hopefully they send that to me to review, but if they don't, I'll eventually end up purchasing it, I'm sure. Just like I'm eventually purchasing Short Night of Glass Dolls. But yeah, anyway, thank you, Celluloid Dreams, folks. And until next time, keep it brutal.